NorCal. 209 King of Comedy. It's Rick without the K. James presents In My Opinion Podcast.
So the veteran part of living in LA or New York is like living there. It's not about doing comedy there. It's about living there and trying to make it work. That is, you become a veteran from that too. Being like a sardine in an ocean. Like, I'll come here, it's a lot of small pond bullshit, even though this is a big scene. It is a big scene. And it's nowhere near, like not even close to what LA and New York is. Just being that little sardine trying to become a whale. It's really fucking hard. And it's disheartening. And I know a lot of guys, a lot of veterans out here, they're afraid of that big ocean. They don't want nothing to do with it. They know, so they want to be out here and be the big fish in a small pond. And because of that they become kind of douchey, a little bit prima donna. But had they gone to LA or New York and got their ass whooped, they would have got humbled again. Because we got some prima donnas here.
Do you feel like that because you have moved to LA and you're like, man, if I just moved back to the Bay, I'd be a big dog? And I asked that because
I would, but that's not what I'm really getting at. I would be but that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is you got to be in a place where you feel fucking hopeless for a long time.
It makes for better comedy, right?
Yeah. And then you just learn to treat people differently. You know what I mean? Like you.
Oh, definitely. I think the only thing, and I know you kind of said it, but I tell people I've done comedy in Denver, Texas, Washington, Georgia. I've gone around and done comedy, and it's different. Where I feel like there is a lot of talent here in the Bay Area compared to where there's a lot more comics in LA, but the ones that I don't think talent-wise, I think if I've always wanted to put on a bracket competition against area codes to see who's actually funnier. And we're not talking about TV credit fucking comics. I'm talking about just regular comics. We have a lot of guys out here that I just don't see it when I'm traveling, and maybe I'm not looking for it. And again, I'm not saying that there aren't other funny comics everywhere else, because there are. But I just feel like the talent pool here is just totally different. I just feel like a lot of comics, no matter what city it is, though, don't have that drive, man. They don't. Like, they want to do this shit for fun. I don't know about you, but I'm not in this shit for fun. Fun stopped. Though I do tell people, I'm like, the difference is, I realize like someone like Kevin Hart isn't doing this shit fun no more.
Right.
It's become a business for him. I said, so one thing that I try to do is I try to find the beauty in the struggle. Like, I don't want to get, because I know at one point, if I make it to the next level, it's not going to be fun for me. It's just going to be, how do I keep making money and keep paying my staff and doing this? Where I'm like, I'm trying to, how often do I get to kick it with a homie and fucking podcast and bullshit? Not, you know what I mean? So sometimes I feel like comics let that shit get away from them too. Yeah. Because I bet you if Kevin Hart could, he would want to go back 10 years ago and have fun with it again. So...
I don't know, man. Like,
that's my whole thing, because I even saw you last night. You was a little bit down on, man, this or that, where I was just like, dude, just go do you. I hope that's the way you took it. I was trying to give you some words of encouragement. Like,
it's always nice, man.
Just let all the bullshit go away. Go up there and do what I know that Cody Woods is going to do. I tried to give you that speech last night, and I felt like you had a killer fucking set. So, hopefully you heard me for what I was trying to say is because I think a lot of comics let that shit get away from them. I think we believe that we should be at a certain place by a certain time, by why so and so doing better than me. I know I'm fuck what everybody else is doing.
Well, okay. I don't look at it as so and so's doing better than me, but I do look at this. Like, once you get to a certain point, you start to realize, like, my job is to become famous. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
And it's daunting. It's really hard becoming famous. It's a hard thing to do. Only a few people can figure it out. That's why they're famous, right? So it's really hard.
Or someone figured it out for them.
Or someone figured it out for them. So, like, once I get to a certain point, like when I was 5 years in the game, couldn't wait to make it to 10 years. I'm like, man, I really wonder what I'm going to be at, like, at 10 years. Or like when I was a host, I'm like, man, I can't wait to feature.
Yeah.
Right? But once you're like at my level, the next step is to become famous or die. So it's scary. So like when I'm looking at these numbers, you know, I'm like, but then I look at the people on the wall and I'm thinking about their numbers in the office. I think about all that shit and I'm like, in order for them to value me to where I want to be and where I must end up, or else it's nothing, I have to be able to sell out shit, you know?
Do you feel like you're giving up a lot of your other life? Now, I ask that because you don't have any kids. So I look at someone like you, and I'm like, I have kids. So there's only so much that I can do before I'm like, just trying to get here. I had to switch around shit so that way I can make sure my son was picked up, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I have no life. It takes over my entire life to business. I mean, I got a marriage, and that's about all I can afford to allot time to, and even then, it's a little scarce. You know, like I couldn't imagine trying to do this with kids. I mean, it'd be hard. I wouldn't be able to do it in LA with kids, for sure. It'd be too hard. But I could probably do it up here with kids. I could figure out a way. You know, there's a way. Like the way, like Mario has a family, right? The way he does it, he's known in LA. He doesn't really need to be there. I mean, it'd certainly help if he was there. It would certainly be better for him if he was there. But because he has responsibilities, same thing with Kabir, you know, it would be better if he was in LA. But he's figuring out how to make it work up here. I'd figure out how to, if I had kids, I'd figure out a way. But there's no way in hell if I had kids in LA. I couldn't do it. It's just too hard. There's not enough money. I have to travel all the time just to make money, just to come back to LA. I got to be on the streets in LA. I got to be networking. I got to be.
Your wife was on the show last night,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's also another comedian.
That helps a lot.
That was my next question. Do you think? Because I know, did you catch that conversation outside with Frankie and his girlfriend?
No.
Where I tell people I go into a relationship now. I tell people I lost my last relationship because of comedy. That was one of the main reasons. Is, you know, you kind of veer away from what the fuck's going on in your real life because you stay focused on something. And Frankie's girl was like, and so I leaned over and was like, "How long have you been with him?" "Oh, we're coming up on a year." And I'm like, he's not touring though yet, is he?
Yeah.
And I think like there's so much stress that's put on a fucking relationship. So I remember you with the woman that you were with prior to that, and she would come to your shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But she wasn't a stand-up comic. So now that this one is,
Yeah.
just how beneficial is it, and what do you think it adds or takes away from your relationship? And I say take away because maybe as a comic, she's coming to you like, "Babe, that punchline ain't working, so drop that shit."
That's
So,
nice. I love having that. We'll
Oh,
talk
you do?
in the car. She'll just be like, "Hey, that shit ain't. You gotta delete that."
and you do it to her, and
I
vice
do it to
versa.
her. Now, I had to train her to take criticism because she's a woman still. Even though she's she's still a woman.
Yeah.
She can't take criticism. You know, that's sexist.
Who's
for
been
them to say that women can't take criticism. It's like, well, I'm. See?
Facts are facts, bitch. Nah.
Yeah. Yeah. It shows.
How long? Who's been doing comedy longer?
Her.
Her.
Yep. But I have more experience, so like I'm more of a comedy veteran than her. That's the whole thing. Like it's not about the amount of time. At some point, granted, if you're 3 years in, you're a baby. Period. It doesn't matter if you have a Netflix special. You're 3 years in, you're a fucking child in this game. You know, even 5 years, you're pretty new. 6 years, you're new. 7, you start to figure it out. 10. So even though she's doing it longer than me, I have way more experience. I've done way more shows. I've done way more crowds. I've been to way more places. You know, so, but she has comedic instinct, and we can break down comedy, and we could talk about it, and it's nice having that conversation, as opposed to being like with a girl where I'm like explaining comedy to them. I'm like, no, the reason why these people are good is because, and then you know, people, if you're in a relationship with a lady who's like not a comedian, and you're trying to explain like why Patrice is good. You know, like, no, you don't get it. Like, this is why it's amazing, because comedy's here and what he's really doing. And now they're not even enjoying it anymore. Like, ugh, I guess. Like, because then they just want to laugh, you know? They're not, you know. So.
I tell people that all the time. I say, I wish I could watch comedy and just watch it and enjoy it. said I'm dissecting the shit.
Yeah.
But I asked that because, like, I think I felt like I had that with my ex, where she kind of was there in the beginning of comedy. So,
Yeah.
you know, watching it grow, where the woman I'm with now, just I don't even like bringing her to the club. So
Yeah.
and maybe because for her it's a night out, it's a night of drinking and fun.
Yeah.
Where then it becomes me babysitting her sometimes. So I'm like, babe, can you just
Business
stay
for
home
you.
because
Yeah.
I still got to go do a meet and greet.
Yeah.
I gotta where she's come up sloppy drunk sometimes. Where I'm like, yeah, can you go sit in the
Man.
back and
My wife's still like that, dude. It's just women. They're like, because like I was trying to explain to her, like, you know, when you come with me to shows, it costs me more money, just because you're around. We gotta go out to eat because you can't eat the bullshit that I can eat because I know how to like survive on small margins.
yeah.
Like I know how to like
you
make
can
a
you can
road
stop
trip.
and get something out of the dollar menu before
Hell
you
yeah.
get there if you're not getting comped a meal.
Yep.
Yeah, no, my girl's like she wants to order 4 appetizers, eat 1 bite
Yeah.
off of each, and then
Right.
where I'm like, and then order a $15 fucking drink, 3 or
Yeah.
4 drinks. By the end of it, we're at $105. I
Mm.
got paid $50 to do this set. We're negative. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
we're negative. Like,
So she kept calling these my gigs trips. So I was like, I broke down her vocabulary. Why do you call them trips instead of gigs? You know, she's like, well, because it's a trip. We're going out. And I'm like, this ain't no fucking trip. Like, if it's a trip, it's a trip. But I'm at work. And then if I go on vacation during work, I can't clock in, right? So I'm losing money because I'm on vacation. What you're doing is creating a vacation in the middle of my fucking work when I'm clocked in. Do you get it? And she's like, no. And I'm like, well, okay, so I can go to the McDonald's dollar menu. I could take off the bun on the dollar burgers. I could eat the hamburger. I got the protein for like $1. I can do shit like that. I can go sleep at a friend's house in the middle. So that way, you know, I'll just take like a nap and then keep driving. She can't. She needs a hotel. She needs comfort. Like, women really just can't handle the fucking grind. Even like they
that's
can't.
why I kind of wish she did come on the podcast to get that.
She would
that-
agree. I eventually got her to see the truth. Women's hope in comedy is to do festivals, get noticed, get rep. You're good. You know what I mean? Because like they can't do the road, even if they're like a hardcore road. There's a few girls out there that would be like road dogs. They can do it. They'll go to a fucking Dunkin' Donuts and sit there the whole day because they can't afford a hotel, working on a laptop. There's women that do that, but it's way more dangerous for them to do it. So, and you're not even really being seen by the industry out in the middle of the sticks doing comedy. You might as well go do Aspen, Montreal. Go do your women shit in LA.
Go do your women shit.
Yeah, do the women route. It's easier. And plus, like, most of them aren't built for the fucking man route. Like, so you're already not built for it. And might as well do the better route where you get famous quicker. Do the festival shit. Because the festivals, they all want women. They want women. You know, don't go on the road. What, for $200? Who cares? Go get seen by an agent.
Now, because your girl's a comic, do you try to get her the feature spot and you the headliner
Yeah.
spot?
But she's like,
Or
she's
switch it up,
a showcase. She's becoming like a comic now. I'm training her to be a comic, not like a showcase comic. You know what I mean? Like, because women are really good at being showcase comics, where they're not actually dealing with logistics, booking. You know, all the. You just show up to your show. You know, it's in LA. Maybe there's an agent. You network. You're not really getting paid, but you're just getting your name out there, like showcasing. That's easier for women to do because it's more comfortable. You just go right back home. And I'm trying to train her to be like, all right, if you really want to improve, if you really want to show these bitches, you hit the road, and you're going to get real strong. But the road, everything surrounding it is tough. So I'm trying to get her, and she's getting there. She is getting there. But, man, it took some bending. I'm like, we don't need to go out to eat right now.
That's funny. That's funny that you say all this and the fact that she's been doing comedy longer than you, which
That's what I mean by veteran.
I'm just like my wheels are turning in the fact
Yeah.
that because we talk about that all the time. Like I know what it's like to be a dude and be a comic, but how much worse is it affecting a woman?
They
You know what I
have
mean?
it bad.
So
They have it really bad. But they also are not willing to do a lot of shit that they should be willing to do. So it's both. Like, and that's the part. The second part that I just said would get me canceled because I'm telling them the truth. But there's a lot of stuff that they're not willing to do. Like, you gotta be willing to try to bury the lineup. Like, instead of just going out showcasing, try to bury everybody. Try to fuck everyone over and get noticed. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I tell people, unfortunately, I started in 2009, so I didn't get to meet an Ali Wong, which is originally from the Bay Area out here. And me and Kabir talked about her, and I said, to me, I love both her specials, man. I said, she's one of my favorite female comics, and she just came through with bam, 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 hitters. And I said, and Kabir goes, man, he goes, every time I used to go to the Punchline, she would bury that show.
Yeah.
And I said, I think you have to do that
and it's not a male mentality. It's not on paper. It's not a male mentality, but because most men are like that and most women are not, it's a male mentality of trying to bury the show. Right now, women comics, they have it in their head. They're like, I can be just as funny as a guy. Like, what's wrong with, like, no, that's not the mentality. Bury people. Bury them.
No.
Embarrass them.
That happened last weekend at the comedy show. At the comedy competition, it was like, oh, it's probably because I'm female. And I'm like, no, it's because you weren't as funny as your male counterpart this weekend. That's all. Don't blame it. You didn't pick the right jokes. That's it. Right. And sometimes, we all know that comedy's subjective and shit. Yeah. And, the
hardest I've seen someone kill was a female. That's the hardest kill I've ever seen. It was Leslie Jones here. That's the hardest kill I've seen. I've seen everybody. The hardest I've ever seen killing. Like, laughs per minute, loud laughs, Leslie Jones. So I'm not, like, anti-woman, but there's something in the culture that, because we keep catering to them in comedy because they've had it so fucking hard, factually, and they still do, that we've kind of lowered the bar because we did so much bad shit to them, and we still do. So we lowered the bar for them, but now they have lowered the bar for themselves. Instead of having this mentality of, I don't care if they're male or female, you need to embarrass the comic after you. You need to get you need to be competitive. They're just not competitive. So try to get that mindset, because that's how you're going to get better. And then some nights it's not a competitive night because you got to do new shit. That you're just going to see if it works, and you might have to take the L. But other nights, if you're showcasing, it's not about doing just as good. You gotta fucking be the best. I don't know why that mentality isn't like given to women very much. Maybe it's because like every producer's trying to fuck them and give them advice,
Especially if they're cute. Yeah.
Yeah. So like maybe everything just goes one ear out the other. So even if it's like the truth coming in, of course it's gonna go out the other ear because everything else is like, hey, I'll get you soak my dick. They're all it's all a bunch of creeps, that's another thing. Being married to her, we were secret for a while in our relationship. No one knew we were together. But then I saw the way the clubs, especially some of the like male club owners, would be towards her, not knowing that the guy next to her is me. And she's mine. They don't know that. So I'd see how creepy they were. I'd see it's fucking constant.
It's constant. No, definitely.
So, I acknowledge all that, but, if any women are listening, which they're not. Definitely
watch
not.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Nobody's.
Just try to adapt the competitive mentality. Don't try to be as good, because there's just like this thing like they keep saying women are not funny. We're funny. I'm like, no one's saying you're not funny. Everyone is saying you're not as funny. So instead of just trying to be funny, have the idea of being funnier than everyone. And then you're going to have the same mentality as a man. And then guess what? You're going to kill just as hard. Because, again, Leslie Jones, hardest kill I've ever seen, dude. Who else is a murderer? Lynn Coplitz, remember when she was here? I think you were with us. Bro.
Was I?
Fucking unbelievably funny. And you know what's crazy? She's gorgeous. It doesn't even she shouldn't be funny. But she is.
Boy, Charlie Murphy, my main man, Rick James. That's the one you think, the comedian Rick James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Please hit the subscribe button down low so you can see all new clips, all new episodes coming to you.